Hi and welcome. This is Kathleen Lovito, and I will be your host for today's webinar entitled Your VA Mortgage Appraisal, What You Need to Know. Joining me today is Anthony T.J. Powell, Vice President of Operations for AAFMAA Mortgage Services, and he'll be sharing just about 30 minutes of slides for you today. At the end of the presentation, TJ will answer any questions you may have. Please ask your questions by typing them into the questions block on your screen. This monthly webinar series is brought to you by AAFMAA Mortgage Services, LLC. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of AAFMAA, offering a full spectrum of mortgage products to the military community. Currently, we conduct business in Alabama, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Maryland, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Colorado, and Virginia, and we will continue to open offices in states across the country. The AAFMAA Mortgage Services team consists of state-licensed loan officers. Among all of our professionals, we have decades of both military and industry experience. We are an equal housing opportunity lender, and for your record, our NMLS is 1423968. As a wholly owned subsidiary of AAFMAA, we operate with the same values and priorities of our parent company. AAFMAA stands for American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association and is the longest-standing not-for-profit association that empowers military families with affordable financial solutions. We accomplish this by being the premier provider of financial planning, investment management, and trust services for the military, not-for-profit. This presentation is educational. It's for general information only and is not specific investment, legal, or tax advice for any of you individually. Do not rely on this presentation alone to guide your home purchase decisions. Since each individual situation is unique, the type of loan that benefits you the most will not necessarily be the same as another current or former service member. For individual advice, please contact us directly. We produce this webinar series in-house with our own professional staff as a service to our members and to help them better understand the resources that are available to them. I will now go ahead and turn it over to TJ, who will go over the agenda.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To go over the agenda, we're first going to go over the information regarding a VA loan, the definition and intended use of an appraisal, the minimum property requirements required by the VA, the most common problems that we in the mortgage field see with VA appraisals, the selection of a VA appraiser, and then purchasing your new home. A little background about VA loans. They were first offered in 1944 as a provision of the GI Bill of Rights. The purpose was to provide veterans with a mortgage loan that was guaranteed by the federal government with no down payment. There is no maximum loan amount for a VA loan. However, there is a maximum limit of guarantee to the lender for the VA loan. Eligible properties must meet VA minimum property requirements, or called MPRs, when qualifying for a VA loan guarantee. Entitlement benefits may also be reused. Some services for a purchase transaction, such as a termite or wood-destroying insect inspection, must be paid for by the seller. And in most cases, the individual lender approves VA loans. However, there are certain instances where the VA must underwrite and approve directly the VA loan. The definition and intended use of an appraisal. Per USPAP, or the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, an appraisal is an act or process of developing an opinion of value. The evaluation process is a systematic procedure the appraiser follows to answer a client's questions about real property. I have listed just a couple of intended uses of an appraisal. There are more than this. An appraisal may be requested or required for various reasons. The most common are listed below. Number one is to facilitate the transfer of ownership of real property, and it's also used to assist the underwriter in establishing a value of security for a mortgage. Here, we're going to go over some of the minimum property requirements. These are properties that are most likely not to pass a VA inspection. Properties that are in badly deteriorated condition, unless the VA agrees there is a reasonable likelihood that it can be repaired to meet the VA minimum property requirements prior to close. A home that is located in a special flood hazard area with an elevation of the lowest floor below the 100-year flood level, or flood insurance is not available, or the home is located in an area that is subject to regular flooding. A coastal barrier resource system area, an airport noise zone 3, if the house is proposed or under construction. A home that is already occupied and built may be financed. If any portion of the structure is located in a transmission line easement involving high pressure gas, liquid petroleum, or high voltage electricity, then the VA will not lend on it. In areas susceptible to geological or soil instability, this would be areas that are common for earthquakes, landslide, or other areas that have a history of unstable soils. A condominium project that is not accepted by the VA, properties involving less than fee simple ownership. These properties would include leaseholds, co-ops, ground rental arrangements, or projects on the development themselves. They would have to actually be prior approved with legal arrangements of the projects by the VA in order to have financing. On this slide, I've come up with the most common problems that we actually see during the processing or underwriting of a VA mortgage. Any home that's built prior to 1978, the appraiser must automatically assume that lead paint was utilized. So if there's any peeling, cracking, chipping, or loose paint on the interior or exterior of the residential property, then the condition must be corrected prior to the close of your VA loan. If a home has a swimming pool, it causes an issue unless it is in an enclosed area by a fence, and all doors leading to the enclosed area have door alarms. This item can actually be waived under certain circumstances by the veteran writing a letter directly to the VA. The water source is a very important piece when determining the value of a property or an appraiser is appraising the property. A water source that is a cistern is considered an invalid water source. It must be public water, well water, or a community well. The purchase of the property is not going to be used for the primary residence of the owner. If the property has a well, a water test must be performed to ensure that there is not traces of bacteria found. If traces of bacteria are found, the well must be treated before closing and a new water test must be performed. The items that typically show up from bacteria are either E. coli or plant matter. When it comes to the selection of a VA appraiser, most approved VA lenders utilize the Lender Appraisal Processing Program, or LAP. The selection of the VA appraiser is determined when ordering the appraisal through the VA website. This is at which time we'll actually get your VA case ID number. At the time that the appraisal is ordered, all of the contact information for the appraiser is provided to the lender. This does include the address, the gentleman's name that's appraising, and also their phone number and email. The appraiser themselves must be a VA-approved appraiser, and the appraisal cannot be ordered by the buyer or seller of the property. The appraiser can also not have any conflict of interest with the property being appraised. This would be such as the appraiser knowing the buyer or seller of the property. When you're purchasing your new home, I've provided just a few suggestions to consider. Obtain a home inspection by a licensed home inspector. A lot of the items that show up on a home inspection will tell us if the property itself will meet the minimum property requirements during a VA appraisal. When viewing your potential purchase, pay close attention on the location of the property, the condition of the property, and whether or not the home has a well. If you're purchasing a condominium, I provided the following site to actually check if the condominium complex has already been VA approved. If you have any concerns about a particular issue that we haven't covered regarding a VA appraisal, please always feel free to ask your AAFMAA Mortgage Services licensed loan officer.
Thanks, TJ. That was very informative. While you were presenting, we had several questions come through, so let's address some of those now. Does a VA appraisal take longer to complete than a conventional loan appraisal?
No, the VA typically allows 10 business days for an appraiser to complete the appraisal from start to finish. However, if you're dealing with a complex property, then the appraiser can actually call the VA and actually make different arrangements for a prolonged time period.
Does a VA appraisal expire?
Yes, actually every appraisal expires. A VA appraisal actually expires 120 days from the date of the inspection date.
Is a VA appraisal more in-depth than other appraisals?
Yes, a VA appraisal mimics more of a FHA appraisal, where a VA appraiser will look into the crawl space, look into the attic space, check the water source, and evaluate the interior and exterior in greater detail than a regular conventional appraisal.
How much does a VA appraisal cost, and is it more expensive than others?
The VA sets the fees for an appraisal through their system, depending where in the country you're actually located. For instance, in the eastern portion of North Carolina, a VA appraisal, no matter on what size home you're actually appraising, is $500. Each area can be a little bit different. Typically, they go anywhere from $450 to roughly $550.
Great, thanks, TJ. Those are some great questions. If we didn't fully answer your question or you think of another question later, please reach out to us at mortgage@afma.com, or you can email TJ directly at apal@afma.com. We'll go ahead and break here for now, but you can reach us whenever you need to. Please don't hesitate to ask for help. We do this every day for our military community, and it is our pleasure. This weekend, you'll receive a follow-up email with instructions on how to access a recording of this presentation. And you can always register for future webinars and review past webinars at afma.com/webinars. Speaking of future webinars, be sure to join us for our next webinar on June 7th, when our colleagues from AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust will present. If you found this information useful, we encourage you to please share it with your friends and family. Our membership grows stronger every year because you introduce those in your military community to AAFMAA. Thank you again to everyone listening and for joining us today. We look forward to our next opportunity to assist you.